We're ready to move on. Now, if you have both of your houses finished, they both have windows, they both have a door, then you are ready to put those aside and start working on some parts of the background. We need one big snowflake like this for our sky. Now, granted, snowflakes aren't big, but this one is. It's going to appear in our sky kind of like a moon or a sun would be in the sky of our background. It's going to look really cool. So keep watching and I'll show you how to make one of these. To make a snowflake, you will need 3 circle papers. These have already been drawn for you. You will need a pair of scissors to cut them out, and you may or may not choose to use a pencil to work on your snowflake designs. Now, I told you that you would need 3 circle papers. That's because I want you to actually make 3 snowflakes. Making snowflakes in the beginning is not that easy of a thing to do. So I think if you make 3, then you'll be able to pick your very best one to use in our project. The very first thing you need to do, though, is very easy. You're going to take one of the circle papers, take your scissors, and you're just simply going to cut out that circle. There you go. Now you do want to cut very carefully and stay on the line, because if you are messy at cutting, the rest of your snowflake will be a little bit trickier. Now the next thing we need to do is pretty easy too. We're just simply going to fold this circle in half 2 times, like this. There's once. There's twice. We actually need to fold it 3 times. I lied. Three times. So now you have what looks like a little triangle, and this is exactly where you need to be before you start cutting. Now before we go any further, let's take a very good look at what we have. I have this big one that I'm going to show you that's easier to see the parts. When you make a snowflake, it's really important to understand what you have so you don't accidentally cut your snowflake into tiny little pieces. This triangle has 3 sides. One side, let's look at the top first, that's kind of round. That is many flaps of paper. They're just the edges. That's going to be the outside edge of your snowflake. This side, you can see, is one big fold. That's a very important edge. The edges are both folds. This side is made up of 3 folds. The folds are very important because that's what holds our snowflake together. When we do our cutting, we're going to cut, you can cut on any of the 3 sides, but it's really important that we never completely cut away any of the folds. That's what holds our snowflake together. Now let's take a look at how to turn this into something that looks like this. As I said before, you'll need scissors and you may decide to use a pencil. To make this a little bit easier to see, I'm going to show how to do it on this big one. But the directions are exactly the same on a big one as on a small one. Now, as I told you, this rounded edge is going to be the outside edge, that design that goes all the way around the circle of our snowflake. And so you can do anything up there that you want. I think I'm just going to start cutting and see where it takes me. Now you want to stay close to this edge, because if we cut away too much, too far down into the snowflake, our snowflake will become very small, and it's already pretty small. So whatever you decide to do, just keep it at the very outside edge. Now let's take a sneak peek. I'm starting to see what the outside edge of my snowflake will look like. Pretty neat. Now I have to make all those holes that are inside the snowflake that make it look lacy. And that's where I'm going to start cutting on the folded edges. Now, like I said before, be really careful that some parts of this folded edge are still there when you're done, because if not, it will fall apart and you will not have a snowflake. Now at this point, you may decide to use a pencil to help yourself with some of the designs. I'm going to use a pencil so that you can see what I'm trying to show better. So starting on this edge, or this edge, it really doesn't matter, I'm going to draw just some simple shape. Maybe I'll make some curved line. And you'll notice that it starts on the fold, it comes out into the center, and then ends on the fold. Now, I'm just going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut right on that line. Now you are cutting through several sheets of paper because our paper is folded, so the cutting may be a little bit difficult. You'll get the hang of it. And this is another good reason why we want to make 3 snowflakes instead of just 1. Take out those shapes. And that's our trash. And there we go. You want to take a sneak peek? We can see. That's pretty cool. Fold that back up. And I'm ready to make another shape. I can make more shapes here or here. I think I'll make one on this side this time. Starting on the side, draw my shape, and end on the side. Let's see what that one looks like. Take out the pieces. Let's take a sneak peek. Oh, starting to look cool. Now you will continue with your pencil or without your pencil, once you get the hang of it, to create shapes that go along these folds. Once you get the hang of what you're doing, it's really easy to just continue to create shapes that come into the center of your snowflake. Now, one thing I want to show you before we cut out these pieces is that in between each shape, here's a shape right here, there's a little area of the fold that is not going to be cut. Here's a shape, I will cut that one. Here's an area that I will not cut. Here's a shape, I'll cut that one. And here's a shape, here's an area that I will not cut. Same thing you can see, not cutting here, cutting, not cutting, cutting, not cutting, cutting. You get the idea. Let's cut this out and take a look and see what it looks like. All right, so I have all of my shapes cut out. Let's take a look. Open up very carefully when you open your snowflake because it's pretty lacy and we don't want it to tear itself apart when the pieces of paper get tangled up together. Pretty cool, huh? What a nice snowflake. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you accidentally did cut away the entire folded edge of your snowflake? Well, here I have an example. I cut all of this side off. I have what looks like some pretty cool shapes, but there is none of the fold left on this side. So watch what happens when I open up this snowflake. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's why I always say leave some part of your folded edge there, not cut off, both sides, so that when you open up your snowflake, you have a snowflake and not a bunch of scraps. So hopefully, after practicing a couple of times and making 3 snowflakes, you have one that you think is the best. Maybe this one. I had a little mistake here, and I had one that's okay, but I like this one better. Choose your very best one, and we're going to use that one in our project.